Hi everyone, welcome back to A&J Education YouTube channel. In today's video, we are very fortunate to have Alex, who some of you remember from a video from earlier on TSA, and check out that video down below. But today we're here to talk about PPE at Oxford, that world famous course. So Alex, great to have you back.
Good to be back.
All right, so well, first of all, what is PPE and what's so special about it?
So PPE stands for Philosophy, Politics and Economics. So it's special because it's interdisciplinary and because, of course, everybody knows it because it's gone on to produce some of the world leading politicians, both in the UK and internationally. But what I found most interesting about it is the diverse group of people who study it.
Mm-hmm.
So it really attracts people of all different interests and talents and backgrounds.
And okay, I mean, look, you say diverse group of people, but everybody knows you kind of need to be a bit wealthy and go to like a fancy private school, to get into Oxford to study PPE. Because that's when I was at my school. My school specifically told everyone, don't apply for PPE, no hope of getting in, no chance, and that's why to this day pretty much everyone even avoids trying. Is that would you say that's accurate?
This is it's a very unfortunate myth about PPE, is that it's only for the wealthy, or only if you went to a private school you can apply. The truth is that Oxford has made a great effort to put all of the knowledge about the admissions process and about the course itself online. So if you want to do the research, and I'm sure you put links in the description, it's all out there for you guys. So I'd say go and do the research, look it up and give it a shot if that's what you want to do, because it's certainly not just for private schools.
Yeah, definitely. And look, obviously, as A&J, we work with students and help them increase their chances, but many students get in every year themselves without any sort of help. I prepared myself, Alex, you prepared yourself, and we put a lot of time and got in. So that's something that you don't necessarily need to come from like a super privileged background to get in. But anyways, back on the subject of PPE. So why specifically PPE of all the Oxford courses is that famous? Because Oxford produces a lot of famous people, but why, what makes PPE specifically so special and talked about?
Well, it's one of the most prestigious courses at Oxford. So it's gone on to produce, so I say, a lot of world leaders. Mm-hmm. So it really prepares you for life outside Oxford as well. So it's super applicable to almost everything that goes on in the world today. So if you want to understand the banking crisis, if you want to understand international affairs, if you want to understand Descartes' meditations, then PPE is the course for you. It's really very wide ranging, and one of the things about it as well is you get to specialise. So the fantastic thing about PPE is that after first year, you have the option to drop one of the subjects. You don't have to, but most people drop one of the subjects. And then you get to specialise in your two favourite components of PPE. So you get to really make your own degree. You get to choose papers which you enjoy and which you like to do. And that's really fantastic about it, I think.
That's really interesting. And so what did you do? Did you drop a subject or?
Yeah, so after first year, I dropped economics. So in my finals exams, so that's the exams you sit at the end of third year, and they're the ones that count for your degree. Mm-hmm. So you do exams after first year, which are called prelims. They don't count for your degree. You need to pass them to stay in the uni, but they don't count. And then third year exams, which counted, I only did exams in philosophy and politics.
Okay.
So I dropped economics.
Right, interesting. And would you say that it's, because obviously Oxford has 38, 30, 39 potentially with the latest, with the newest graduate college, but would you say that depending on what college you apply to and get in, you have a different PPE experience?
Definitely, the college affects your PPE experience in a whole number of ways. So from the tutors you're going to have, to the people you study with, to the different colleges have different amounts of opportunities available in terms of money. Depends on what architecture you like. So I know a lot of people, for example, that really like modern architecture. So they applied to St Catherine's College, which, as you know, is it's a modernist architecture. But if you like
not my favourite personally.
If you like older, sort of grander architecture, then you might want to apply to an older college. And also it depends on obviously whether you think you want to be in a big college or a small college, and all of that affects things from the competitiveness of the sports teams to a whole series of things. So the college really affects your overall Oxford experience.
Okay. And would you say there is a point in trying to, quote unquote, game the system and run the numbers and apply to a specific college? Will that have an impact on your admission chances?
So I know people that did this and got in, and one of the things they always say they regret is that they ended up in a college they didn't really want to be at because they tried to do that. And what I would say is that Oxford has something called a pooling system. So if you apply to a college which is super competitive, then sometimes what they say is, well, this person is good enough to be at Oxford, but we don't have enough space at this college to let them in. So what they do is they pool them to other colleges which maybe haven't had as many applicants, and so your chances of getting into Oxford say it's the same whether or not you apply to a competitive college or not. But the important thing is that you apply to a college which you know that you want to go to.
And no, that's really interesting and very accurate in my experience as well. Myself and having prepared dozens of students for Oxbridge, gaming the system is something, at least at Oxford, you shouldn't do, because admissions are done on the departmental level. Whilst at Cambridge, colleges do have a bit more freedom and influence on admissions, but at least at Oxford, it is pretty much equal. And because the university has a policy of 2 interviews for every candidate, regardless of the subject, whether PPE or physics or material science, if you've had a bad day, just bad first interview, you always have the second chance. And this way for Oxford, they think, well, if you're really good, you will shine in at least one of those interviews. And equally, if perhaps it's not, it's not for you, and they think you're not the right fit, they definitely want to make sure before they ask your application. So it is, fairly fair in in that sense. Alex, let's just come back to to you specifically. So, what did you do to prepare for PPE, and how exactly did you prepare? When did you start preparing? Was it just kind of a couple months before the application in your final year?
Oh, I didn't know. I spent at least a year before I applied. I'd spent building up to it and preparing, picking my college, that sort of thing. So the key thing to remember about the admissions process is there's multiple stages. So for example, my personal statement, I spent months going over, rewriting it, sending it off to my peers, to my teachers, saying what can I improve, looking up online what I should include, what I shouldn't include, what Oxford were looking for. I looked at online talks from Oxford saying what they were looking for in person, all that sort of stuff. And then for the interviews, I made my granddad give me multiple mock interviews. Okay. And he knew nothing about the Oxford admissions process, but he would just throw curveball questions at me, and it was learning to think laterally, and that sort of prepared me for the Oxbridge interviews. Even though I didn't have, as I say, like a specialist tutor, or my school didn't have that facility, I did everything I could to make sure I took each part of the admissions process and made it as good as it possibly could be. And of course the admissions test as well, the TSA, we talked about that in the other video, but that's super important as well to prepare for if you're applying to PPE, because the TSA score is a very, very important part of the application overall.
Yeah, and there is a myth that actually a lot of students who come to A&J or make inquiries say, they think, oh look, I have a perfect GCSE record, and I'm highly likely to get 3 A stars at A level. I'm pretty much guaranteed a place. That's definitely wrong. And equally, what's wrong if you have less than perfect GCSE record and you don't have the 3 A stars, people think, well, it's not for me. And at least in my experience, both of those are wrong. What would you say?
That's right. Yeah, one of the biggest causes. So as everyone knows, there's an access gap in Oxford. I don't think it's any revelation, but one of the biggest causes of that access gap is just state school kids and BME kids and so on just not applying. So the biggest thing is just saying to people, give it a go, because it's only one of your choices on your UCAS form, so you don't necessarily lose anything by giving it a shot.
Yeah, definitely 120%. All right, and Alex, I know you're short for time, and you're busy with between the tutoring and social life. But what you're a PPE graduate, you've been now pretty much tutoring full time for a couple of years. What's your what are your next steps? Where does the PPE degree? Where is it taking you?
So me personally, I'm currently in the process of applying for the Royal Marines as an officer. But my friends, it's taken them to all sorts of careers, from banking to the civil service, to even some people have done law conversion courses. So it's a really great foundation for any future step you want in life. So when I went into PPE, I didn't go in with any preconceived ideas of my career. I went in and saw it basically as a degree that would open doors, and it certainly does in terms of the experiences you'll have at Oxford, and yeah, highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's great. And Alex, just last question before we wrap up. Are there any particular, is there a particular A-level combination, or if you're applying with IB or Pre-U or APs, whatever your background is there any subject combination that you must have to be a competitive applicant for PPE?
So there is no compulsory A-level combination. They do say that they recommend A-level maths, at least up to AS level, because of the economics component. So, but I know people who applied without A-level maths, so you're still able to apply, but the only thing is if you get in, then you have to take additional maths in first year of uni. But I would recommend taking A-level maths, but if you aren't taking it, don't worry, you don't need to take it, but it's recommended by the university.
Yeah, and it's very much the tutors during the selection process, they look for potential. They're not necessarily looking for what you have now. They're looking for where they can take you, given 3 years there. So if they identify the potential, you'll get a place regardless whether you've studied economics, philosophy, politics for your A-levels or maths or not. And there are both types of students at Oxford, so there is definitely a place there for you if you're prepared to work hard. Alex, any final tips? So 3 tips if you're an aspiring PPE student at Oxford. Yeah, what would you say?
The first thing is do your research. So make sure you know about the course, you know about the papers you can take, and make sure that at interviews and in your personal statement, you demonstrate an interest in the course. So you say what papers you would like to take if you get in your finals, maybe talk about where it's going to lead you, so further academic study or something along those lines. The second thing is make sure you know about the admissions test. So again, we covered this in the other video, but as I say, you can't do enough preparation for that admissions test. It's so crucial in your application. And then finally, make sure you get started early on your personal statement and other admin, because it makes it so much easier if you've already got a draft written and then it's a few months before, you can just get it back up, rewrite it, go over it again and again, send it off to friends, teachers, anyone you can find who's going to read it through it. And it's so much more relaxing approaching the deadline in October, knowing that stuff's all done. So
great. Alex, this was super useful. Guys, if you're applying for PPE this cycle in the COVID cycle, drop us a comment down below with your experiences. What are you doing to prepare? What are you looking at? What are you nervous about? Maybe any advice further that you want. Any specific questions, feel free to DM us on Instagram. We always pick up the messages there. And best of luck. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.